Donald Trump has claimed the French president always gets it wrong and is a publicity-seeking leader. It's a damning assessment of Emmanuel Macron, who Trump had called a very special man back in February when they met at the Oval Office. With Macron's position on the world stage under scrutiny and falling popularity in France, where does that leave the French president? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, the French President Emmanuel Macron had positioned himself as the European leader who had some influence over Donald Trump. But he's been forced to brush off Trump's humiliating remarks after that G7 summit. Could Macron's earlier visit to Greenland have soured relations? And can he find his way back into the US president's good books?
A family photo with the G7 summit leaders, but without the US president. Donald Trump had left earlier due to developments between Israel and Iran.
The president spoke a few minutes ago to say that there were ongoing discussions, which is a good thing. And so if the United States of America can achieve a ceasefire, it is a very good thing. And France will support it, and we wish for it.
But speaking from Air Force One, Trump refuted Macron's remarks.
For a ceasefire. I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. That was Emmanuel, nice guy, but he doesn't get it right too often.
He expanded on this later that day, posting in Truth Social that Macron was publicity-seeking and Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Perhaps it was this stop-off in Greenland which had unsettled Trump. A show of solidarity for the Arctic island, which the US has declared it wants to buy.
A message of support for your territorial integrity, your borders. In a few words, everybody think in France, in the European Union, that Greenland is not to be sold, not to be taken.
Macron had once boasted he could handle Trump, and the US president has spoken of their friendship.
President Macron is a very special man in my book.
And it's not just Macron and Trump's relations, which are strained. The French president has been struggling with his popularity in France too, with an approval rating of just 29%. Moreover, an incident with his wife during a trip to Vietnam drew unwanted headlines and international scrutiny. So, has Macron lost his charm both at home and abroad?
Well, let's bring in our guests. From Saint-Malo in northern France, we have Jacques Reland. He is Senior Research Fellow at the Global Policy Institute. In Aarhus, in Denmark, we have Nauja Lynge. She's an author and an expert in Arctic relations. And I'm delighted to say, here with me in the studio, Greg Swenson, Chairman of the Republicans Overseas UK. You're all very welcome to this roundtable. Jacques, to you first. French officials for weeks and months have been telling any journalist who would listen that the only European leader who has Trump's ear is Emmanuel Macron. Didn't quite work out that way.
No, it hasn't. I don't think they've been saying it loud and saying that they've been saying. Actually, they've been saying that he had the ear, that they spoke on a regular basis, but that's about it. We know that apparently now the new darling is Keir Starmer, who got a deal between the USA and the European Union, or I suppose it's the UK maybe. Yeah, but you know, having the ear of Trump doesn't mean anything. We don't know. He's so unpredictable. You never know what how his response is going to be. It's very difficult. And with Macron, the relationship has been, yes, a bit of bromance at times, but at the same time, he likes to show, Donald Trump likes to show his superiority. He quite likes Macron, respects him because he's been there a long time, but he doesn't respect France, and he doesn't respect the European Union. Only Donald Trump only respects big beast. He is himself a big beast. He respects Putin. He respects Xi Jinping. He respects Netanyahu, but he certainly doesn't respect the EU. And even we can say he's not the leader of the EU, but Macron is the most outspoken spokesperson for the EU.
Thanks, Jacques. Nauja, talking of respect, there was a big difference between the welcome that Emmanuel Macron received in Greenland and that frosty reception that J.D. Vance got when he went there a few months back. So Greenlanders were very, very happy to say welcome to the French president.
Yes, you can say that Macron received all that Trump ever wanted. Well, first of all, Trump was not, the Vance team was not invited. Macron was invited, and he arrived, and it was almost like it was an uncle finally coming home. People took the day off. It was Sunday, and they had the day off, and they went and they said "Vive la France," and they just greeted him, and it was really a nice situation.
And Nauja, how significant then, your ancestry is Greenland, how significant do you think the visit was then, having the French president come only 8 hours on the island, and yet this was very significant?
Yeah, well, I can tell you it meant a lot. Just before he arrived in Nuuk, I was climbing a mountain with some local policemen that was stationed there from Denmark, and everyone's talking about this. It really means a lot to hear this calm voice, and also to hear that France is now opening a consulate in Nuuk, and they are willing to invest in Greenland together with the EU. And to say that we are not alone, not today and not tomorrow. It just really meant a lot in a troubled time.
Thanks, Nauja. Craig, to you, how much do you think that Macron visit to Greenland irritated President Trump?
I'm not sure it did. There's any number of things that can irritate President Trump. I think it was probably the tweet or the message that Macron sent out at that time. I don't think it was helpful. I think the president was disappointed with his choice of words, talking about ceasefire, when the president might have a different agenda. So we'll see. But I don't think the Greenland visit would move the needle very much with President Trump.
But he was quite scathing, wasn't he, President Trump? So he said that the French president is a publicity seeker, and all of this was written while he was on the aircraft.
And that very well could have been a reference to the trip to Greenland. Again, I don't think in the big picture it means much. I mean, it almost seems like ancient history now. Macron had a great moment in the Oval Office, recall, 6 or 8 weeks ago. He was there first, followed by Keir Starmer, as Jacques pointed out, President Trump's new bestie, and then the week was capped off by Zelensky and the blow-up. So it kind of made Starmer and Macron look really good in the sense that they had a nice, comfortable diplomatic visit in the Oval Office. So, look, President Trump is transactional. I don't think he's going to hold a grudge. This is not a relationship ender. He'll kiss and make up.
That's what Macron has said as well. He said, it doesn't bother me. These are the French president's words. Yeah. It won't be the first or the last time. So it's a strange relationship, isn't it? Yeah. The kind of Trump rips into him, and it's like, that's cool.
And again, I think both of our guests, brought up a good point. The president's transactional. He does not like the EU. There's a $200+ billion trade deficit that the U.S. has with the EU. That's not the case with the UK. He's a big fan of Brexit. So even though he's not ideologically aligned with Keir Starmer, he's very fond of the UK. He's happy with Brexit. And I think that's another reason why he wanted to reach out and do a trade deal with the UK before anybody else.
Jacques, to you, what's the French view then of the relationship between Macron and Trump right now? I mean, is it fractured slightly, or just one of those things that they're allowed to say things about each other? And as Greg says, it's just completely transactional. What's in it for me right now?
Yeah, but the French view, if you see opinion polls, the French are not very pleased with Macron, even though many people in the circles who are interested in national politics thinks he's doing a good job. He's trying, he's doing good job regarding Gaza, for example. That's very good. And to go back to the Greenland situation, it was very important. We know that it is one of America's obsession. Even Trump in 2019 wanted to buy. And then Macron was there to show, and it was very important. The European leaders had not responded very well to the proposals of the recent proposals and announces that he wanted to make it into 51st state or to take over Greenland. But no European leader had actually challenged Trump. And there it was very important that Macron went and showed that Greenland is part of the EU, even though it's not a full member, it's an associate overseas territory. But if Europe is to be considered a global geopolitical power, as Macron thinks it should be, maybe not other leaders, I don't know, they would rather maybe be a vassal of America, that it was very important to stand up to this desire and to show it. This Greenland has become a very strong strategic issue. And as a result of global warming, as a result of also now, which means that the waters around Greenland are now accessible, and we know that Russia and China have very strong ambitions in the Arctic. So for security reasons, Greenland is crucial to America. We know that Greenland is on the shortest route for missiles between Russia and America, but Greenland, as Europe has to show that Greenland is part of its zone of interest and has a geostrategic importance for Europe, as well as an importance in terms of economic supremacy, because we know that Greenland has metals which are very important for the economic industrial independence of Europe. So Europe can't afford to let go of Greenland. If we let go of Greenland, give it to let Trump take it over, it means Europe is okay. What it was always before, a dwarf, only because it has no influence as to just. So that's why this show of support on the part of a country which has certain military capacities, as has been shown by the French vessels going cruising around. France is pushing for international maneuvers with other European countries in order to show that this part is Europe and not America, and it's part of the relation between the big powers.
Okay.
And it's very crucial for Europe to show that it holds Greenland dear.
Thanks, Jacques. Nauja, it seems to have gone very quiet on the whole, the United States taking over Greenland. You've been there for the last 10 days. What have people been saying to you?
Well, I don't think any of us believe that it's over. It's just like a ceasefire before the storm. And I think that we saw just after Macron left Greenland again, I think it was 2 days after, then we saw that Trump actually has divided Greenland from Denmark in the US command system regarding Greenland, something he already talked about in 19, but then Biden stopped it. This is something that doesn't mean anything when we're friends and when we can rely on each other as allies. But in a situation like this, because what I've been doing a lot of research recently in Greenland is for my next book, which is about these relations. What does it do to the ordinary people when, like, say, that the Americans are playing this kind of games with us, also in the media? And I think what they can use this new Northcom system, which is now situated in the US, would be to maybe do some photo democracy in favor of the US, showing troops, planes, and then in order to own the story, yet at the same time, the Americans have also announced that they are sending journalists to Nuuk to vouch for this America First story. And I think these are the kind of relations that are growing in the Greenlandic population. That being said, Greenlanders are also now and here people. So we are literally taking a break now until we hear what's the next move from the United States.
And Nauja, in terms of moving closer to the European Union and becoming part of the European family properly, is that something Greenlandic people are quite interested in now?
Well, I think that while Macron was in Nuuk, I think he was looking to see what's actually going to cost to get Greenland on board again in the EU, because Greenland was actually one of the first countries, if not the first, to leave the EU back then. But I think actually it would be a good idea for Greenland to join the EU again. Greenland would then become an outer area of great importance, which would mean a lot of euros going in the direction of Greenland. It would also be more secure for Greenland, for the Danish realm. So I think generally that's something that a lot of people are looking into at the moment. And at least it's very important to have this strong connection with the EU.
Thanks, Nauja. Greg, what's your thinking on where Trump is at right now with Greenland? Like, he's got so much on his plate.
Right. There's so much going on. He's just appointed a new ambassador to Denmark, Ken Howery, who's a great guy and will be really effective at putting together something and developing the relationship. So that's good news. I think what's really important to keep in mind here is that the critical minerals, it's a great point that we've discussed, also oil and gas. This would be a great benefit to the people of Greenland. You know, it's a small population.
But they don't want to be a 51st state.
They don't want to be a 51st state. I think that was just a provocative way of getting the conversation going. I'm not sure. I've talked to some MPs in Greenland who don't really want to be part of Denmark either. So what's best for those people? I'd love to see some polling on it, but what's best for them will be sort of an Alaska or a Norway model where you're developing these resources to the great benefit of a very small population. They could all be quite rich. This would be really important geopolitically. As both guests have pointed out, you know, the critical minerals, the routes, the shipping routes, with the melting, all really important to consider. I think they'd be better with a relationship not owned by the U.S., but a more strategic relationship where you already have
partnership.
We already have an air base there. Do a joint venture. Who's going to develop the minerals faster and more efficiently? The U.S. or Europe? I think they get hung up in the regulatory burden of the EU. And I think a better alternative would be drill, baby, drill, get some miners in there without the permitting, without the regulatory burden that many companies face in the EU.
So just to be clear, this hasn't gone away?
No, not at all.
Not at all. The American viewpoint is it's still of interest.
It is definitely of interest, some sort of strategic partnership, some sort of economic. You know, the president believes in peace through strength. He also believes in peace through business. You saw that in the Abraham Accords. You've seen it constantly. He wants to do business. He does not want boots on the ground. But I think Greenland could serve a really important purpose economically, but also from a security and defense perspective as well.
Thanks, Greg. Jacques, let's talk about the domestic situation then in France with Macron. I saw one poll recently from Le Tribune Dimanche newspaper putting him at 21% approval from French people. He's not doing so well.
He's not doing very well, but he's not, actually, he's almost disappeared from the home political scene, from the domestic political scene. That's left to the prime minister, with from time to time an intervention to show that he's still paying attention. But actually, this terrible mistake he made a year ago by dissolving the National Assembly, and now he has no majority at all. It's impossible to make decisions. So the people are really angry with that decision, which has created immobility in France. Nothing can be done. We need to reform the pension systems. It can't be done. It's impossible to find majority to pass laws in the national interest. Everyone now is waiting for the election of 2020, the presidential election of 2027. And the parties which are taking part in this government, such people with ministers as Retailleau, Darmanin, and all that, they're just thinking of, they're not thinking of the national interest of the current situation now. They're thinking of how best can they show that they will be the right president in 2027. So he only has one area in which he can shine and he can use, because in the domain of foreign and defense policy, he has a special power as opposed to in the other one, because otherwise the government policy is done by the prime minister and the government. And in there, he's using it to the full. So it has freedom in a way, but that does not mean, and many people are quite pleased about the role he plays, and they're quite pleased about some of the positions he takes, especially on Gaza and on Palestine, which he wanted to recognize, which, and unfortunately, the attack on Iran had distracted from that objective of having a summit in the United Nations on the 18th of June. That's been cancelled, but it was in order to, and they quite like the role he plays on the international stage. But you don't gain much popularity by being an international important person. People are more concerned about, that's why, about the domestic and what's happening, the economic situation and so on. And the French are a nation which is very hard to please. At the moment, they're not too pleased, so therefore...
never happy, Jacques, never happy. Let's bring Nauja back in. Nauja...
He'll be popular when he's gone again.
He'll be popular when he's gone. Nauja, tell me, do you think we're likely to see more European leaders now heading to Greenland and following on from Macron's presence there?
Probably. And I think that maybe Macron could give some good advice to Trump, because I understand the American way of never taking a deal off the table. But if you want to date the Greenlanders and Inuit, then you don't talk so much about money. We don't care so much about money, but we don't want you to build baby drill. We want to take care of our nature. It's very important to the Greenlandic people. So I think that the Americans have always been welcome to come and invest in Greenland, and they're actually currently looking into the Breeze project in South Greenland, which is also about rare earth minerals. So please come and join us. You are already an ally. It's just the way you behave, like you're trying to change the narrative for us, which is something I think it's not a good way to enter the market, nor in Greenland, nor in Denmark.
So Nauja, Greg used the phrase there, drill, baby, drill. I'm guessing you didn't like hearing that.
I didn't fall in love just there. I have to tell you that. No, because the nature means everything to us. You know, when I just been, like I said, in the fjord with my cousin, and every time when he catches a fish, he's saying a lot of stuff in Greenlandic to praise and say thank you for letting us use all of this. We're doing it, and we're taking care of the nature. And also Macron was very much talking about the green energy projects and the idea of taking care of the nature. So I think all of that, we have to make a balance. This being said, I have a lot of American friends in Denmark and in Greenland. I really love Americans. I just don't like the way we're heading right now. I think we have to get back on track again, because I think it would be a very good idea to stay friends, to stay good allies. Then we can together build something good. And of course, if that is the case, then I think Americans would be more than welcome. Just don't come to Nuuk and offer $100 notes to our kids. It's an offense.
Greg, to you, the president has sent members of his family to Greenland. He sent the Vice President Vance to Greenland. Right. How long until we see President Trump in Greenland?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's very strategic about these things. You know, there's a reason he went to Saudi Arabia at the beginning of each of his terms, his first and second term. With the exception of the Pope's funeral, it was his first foreign visit. So I think he will ultimately go to Greenland. As I mentioned, we have a new ambassador to Denmark, who was the ambassador to Sweden in his first term. President Trump is very deliberate about putting good people. It's an important issue, and I think and even if it's drill baby drill, that's like a campaign slogan in many ways. But the U.S. companies develop natural gas and oil, and they do mining in the cleanest and best way possible. I mean, they are really good at it. And this is why we need to get away from China, because China is an environmental disaster, not only in mining, but in processing rare earth minerals and other critical minerals. So I think the Americans on the ground will be great for both countries. And
Thanks,
great,
Greg.
By the way, great for the EU and NATO as well.
Thanks, Greg. Jacques, final point to you. Give us your thoughts on the Macron marriage. Every time I go on social media, I'm seeing little memes and jokes, AI-generated comedy. That slap on the plane has gone viral.
Yes, maybe it has. Not that much in France, funnily enough, maybe in the rest of the world. But Macron has been the subject of so many, how to put it, kind of very nasty rumors that his wife is meant to be a man and so on.
Yeah, horrible, slanderous stuff on social media.
I think that people take it with a pinch of salt, like that they would take the American offer of partnership with Greenland with a strong pinch of salt, because they know that America doesn't believe in partnership. America believes in dominance, and that's it. And we know very well that the environmental concerns of America are close to zero. So the claim of the Americans that they would be for the benefit of the Earth, for the global, of the planet, and of the Greenlanders makes me laugh more than the video clips about Macron.
Jacques, thank you. And to Nauja in Denmark and Greg Swenson here in the studio as well. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.